Good morning, Marianas. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Danielle Baza.
It is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 at 6:04 a.m. Welcome to our studios here on the 7th floor of the DNA building. When we come back, we have an exciting lineup of news for you.
As a defense attorney, I've represented many people who, if they weren't poor or they had received a higher education, may have taken a different path. As senator, I will propose a scholarship for those whose struggles are less academic and more financial. Let's keep our university full, not our prison. I'm Thomas Fisher. I not only approve this message, I wrote it.
Paid for by Tom for Guam, Drake Diaz, Treasurer.
Ago, we promised to create a safe, fair, compassionate, and prosperous government. And despite a global pandemic that shut down our economy along with the rest of the world, we kept our island going.
You can't give up on hope. Each other's hand we hold. We're on a long, hard road and we're all in this together. We can make our way. Each and every day, you need a bold and stay. Let's move it forward. Oh, we're halfway there. So stand up if you can. Oh, yeah.
Forward and dignity. Forward and stability. This is Governor Leon Guerrero, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. The fallout is growing from former Democratic Party of Guam attorney Vanessa Williams' shared sample ballot, where she crossed out the names of 12 Democrat candidates under the party banner she was representing. A political rally for the Leon Guerrero Tenorio campaign held Sunday reportedly drew less than 300 people for what was supposed to be a gathering of supporters for the campaign in the most populated northern villages. The rally came the night after Kandit broke the news of the ex-Democrat attorney's sample ballot, where she crossed out the names of 9 senatorial candidates. Among them is the son of the very popular mayor of the village with the greatest number of voters. Yesterday, Democrat senatorial candidate Jonathan Savares, who also has been on the front lines of the effort to get the government of Guam to finally stand up a medicinal cannabis industry, issued the following statement regarding the crossing of his name and others. Quote, "In light of recent developments by Attorney Williams' sample ballot being posted on Instagram, I am deeply saddened with her actions. I feel like that ethically she should have separated herself prior to jeopardizing the image of the party. The current divide in the party can be seen throughout social media, and as a member of this party, I hope that the fractures that this has further created can be resolved. It is beyond if you are supporting me or not, and I respect her decision as a voter, but as someone who was a part of party leadership, that action is unbecoming. Further, as the head of the Cannabis Control Board, I would have hoped that she would have stood behind my mission toward a patient-focused cannabis industry, considering all the public outcry from the cannabis community about the rules and regulations, not only in the most recent public hearing, but as well as in the previous public hearing, where the same concerns from the industry was brought to light about the rules and regulations. Respectfully, Jonathan Savares. Mr. Savares is the son of popular Dedrido Mayor Melissa Savares.
Mr. Savares was not the first among Williams' senatorial crossouts to express dismay. First-time candidate Chris Barnett issued a statement yesterday, which stated, "It is sad that I am not shocked by this latest attack from within our party leadership. The attorney's resignation was the right thing to do since she crossed the ethical line of her duties to the party and lost the trust of those she publicly tried to cancel. I'll just keep working hard because I know that our voters don't need people in power to make up their minds for them. The support I have received from our people during my campaign has been overwhelmingly encouraging and humbling. I am running as a Democrat because I believe that my grassroots campaign will connect with our people, and I refuse to let politics get in the way of that."
After Ms. Williams resigned, the fallout just kept coming, with the Speaker of the Guam legislature and top vote getter in the last election also issuing a statement that called into question the excuse the Democratic Party of Guam used for the Williams sample ballot. Speaker Therese Terlahi wrote, quote, "I can only guess from the letters I have received that my name was crossed off this individual's ballot because I held an official public hearing on Bill 291 instead of a roundtable or holding the bill in silence as they wanted. I refuse silence. It's because of the hearing that I had on Bill 291 that those opposed to the bill can now say that the overwhelming majority of those testifying were against 291. There is a record and the public was able to be heard. They should use that to gain the support of senators for their side instead of alienating them. I think it's not strategic on their part to presumptuously assume senators and candidates' positions and or broadly categorize them as socially conservative or other labels when this is a long-term complex issue with variations of bills and laws we must deal with based on the specifics of each one. The public knows that I did not sponsor 291 and was not responsible for another senator referring it to my committee like a hot potato within hours of receipt and without my review. Other bills, like the one for tax rebates, were not referred so quickly. The referring senator's name was not crossed off the sample ballot. The community can see for itself, the speaker said, the work that I have done throughout my life in support of women and children against sexual abuse, against potential medical negligence, and to take care of the poor and those suffering from toxic exposure. I will continue to create a forum for the truth to be told and the public to be heard. The speaker continued, I have always trusted that when the government is open and transparent, all women and the community are capable of discerning the truth for themselves and making their own choices of who to vote for, even despite party officials' bias or missteps, unquote.
Senators in session recently asked Leon Guerrero administration officials where a sizable sum of money meant for Guam Memorial Hospital is. The legislature 2.5 years ago appropriated $10 million from the Hospital Capital Improvement Fund, an actual and real funding source, to GMH so it could undertake one or all of three projects. 1, to repair or replace the hospital's deteriorating electrical panel and generator. 2, to repair the roof. 3, and to procure an electronic health record system. Governor Leon Guerrero allowed the appropriation to lapse into law. In her letter transmitting the law to the legislature, she wrote, "No one wants GMHA to wait 1 day longer than necessary, and we all want to help our hospital the right way." 2.5 years later, Senator Tello Taitagui in session asked the governor's cash director, Ed Byrne,
have you provided that money to Guam Memorial Hospital for $10 million yet?
No, we haven't. And had we done so, we would have broken Senator Duenas' rule and spent money we didn't have.
why the administration does not have that money is a question that is baffling senators considering the funding source was legitimate. The administration has been boasting about a budget surplus, and the island has been flooded with federal funds to offset any shortfalls. According to Mr. Byrne, honoring the appropriation would have led to deficit spending that fiscal year.
Well, I mean, that's an exciting round of stories in Kandit this morning, but certainly not as exciting as it is in the Democratic Party of Guam. So exciting that the Republicans issued a release. I should have put this in our lineup, but let me get it. Where is it? It's Camacho at standby. They issued this statement last night, and I thought, the Republicans are having fun with this. Well,
good for Felix?
Republican Party. Well, this is good for the Republicans. And it's probably good for, honestly, it's probably like all those people who were crossed out by Vanessa Williams. It's probably good for them. They're getting like all the attention now. And the fallout, I mean, I'd be pissed if I were them too. I'd be like, I probably have choicer words. Well, I don't know. The speaker had some pretty choice words. She was basically calling into question the sincerity of the releases from the Democratic Party of Guam about the reason or the excuse that they were giving as to why those names were crossed out. Because the speaker is like, and I thought this too, I was like, I don't know where the speaker stands on abortion. I don't think she's ever said I'm pro-life or pro-choice or whatever. And then as I understand it, I believe that senatorial candidate Fred Bordallo is pro-life. His name wasn't crossed out, if I'm not mistaken, unless she's just being wishy-washy. In the past, Senator Tina Muñoz Barnes has voted for and been a co-sponsor of several pro-life bills that have passed the legislature. Her name was not crossed out. And so I don't know how real that list is or whether that excuse is real, that this was about abortion. This seems to have been a push by Democratic Party officials. And let's face it, Tony Babalte, the chairman of the party, when he was elected, said that he was elected to get Governor Lulian Guerrero reelected. He was not elected. The Democratic Party of Guam does not exist to push all Democrats. And it never really has. It has existed to push its own agenda, whoever was in charge of the party, whatever agenda that they had. And this is what kills them all the time. This is why no matter how many votes that they get, they tend to lose these races because they just can't help their stupidity. They can't help it. So the Republican Party of Guam, understanding how stupid the Democrats are, they issued a statement. This is a pretty smart statement. This was last night. They said, with the 2022 election cycle underway, and with the doors now open for early voting for the primary election, the Republican Party of Guam is proud to announce that we are united to work for the people of Guam. Our slate of candidates consists of a gubernatorial team which brings compassion and honesty to the table, which are vital components as our island heals from a health and economic pandemic. A congressional candidate who brings the energy and resilience to ensure that Guam is well represented in the nation's capital. 16 heavily qualified senatorial candidates with an array of backgrounds inclusive of education, public safety, and finance. It includes current and former senators, heads of government entities, small business owners, veterans, and an attorney. The Republican Party of Guam is proud to share that our slate of candidates is experienced, accountable, and focused on just one priority, which is to serve the people of Guam. We, in all caps bold, support all of them and encourage all voters to please vote for them as well. End of statement. You just got to admire the genius behind Juan Carlos Benitez and his crew over at the Republican Party of Guam. Because if there was ever a time to capitalize on the stupidity that came from the Lou and Josh campaign this past weekend, where they basically decimated their chances of winning the primary election, last night was that time. And you know what? I want to congratulate John Savares, Chris Barnett, Speaker Therese Terlahi, because they don't care. They don't care about anything but the people who they want to serve.
People. Yes.
And so it takes guts, especially for someone like John Savares. You know, Chris Barnett, very popular. Speaker Therese Terlahi, most popular senator that we have. Top vote getter in the last election. They don't have to worry. They're going to get elected. John Tavares, though, he needs to make a name for himself. And for him to come out and to speak his mind about what the Lou and Josh campaign did to him, it's a risk. But he did it anyway. And that says something about someone's integrity, I think.
Yes.
And so kudos to him. I want to see if others, you know, we put a message out to Senator Selena Nelson's office. We want to know what she thinks about being X'd out in that congressional sample ballot. And then there are others who are crossed. I think Bunker has been actually pretty. I'm sorry. We want to get a statement from Congressman St. Nicholas. Of course, we already know what he's going to say, like just typical politics. Typical politics. We want to get I think Bunker, Franklin Meno, he's one of the people who was crossed out. He's been pretty active on social media, giving people a piece of his mind about what happened. Is that what he's saying? That they're the blackout gang?
Yeah.
And so the continuing fallout will continue. We're gonna follow this. We're not gonna let this one go. We didn't have any time yesterday to do our story about Selba Bauta, the former Leon Guerrero cabinet official who exposed evidence that, at the very least, cabinet members saying that Governor Lou Leon, in writing, that Governor Lou Leon Guerrero ordered them to come up with a troll farm to skew the results of the election. This is just some fascinating stuff. You know what fascinates me, I think, is just how stupid some people are to commit things to writing like that. You know, in the Calvo administration, we just picked up the phone. And even at that, we were a little concerned that we were being recorded. So, like, we just had face-to-face conversations, you know?
Smart.
And then the big story, the one that has great consequence to to a couple of families, but also speaks to something that just happens far too often, but doesn't get talked about too much, is a giant land scam that is unraveling in the Superior Court of Guam regarding the Kenya estate, which is a multi-acre property in Ordot Sinahanya. So we'll hopefully be able to bring you the first of those stories today. And there's also something I've been, a couple more stories I've been working on, but it just requires a ton of research and putting things together. One dealing with the future of the Archdiocese of Acania, and the other dealing with that question that people have that the administration likes to deny, you know, is the governor's family making money off of the money that's parked in the Treasury of Guam? And it's something that maybe you'll see that story this week. I'm not sure. We just have to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's. But we already put the questions out to cross our I's and dot our T's. Yes, we already put the question out to the governor's office.
Get these in-depth stories at candidnews.com.
Which one? What channel? Oh, and the banking industries, yes. Yeah. Oh, you mean their comments? Yes, absolutely. So we will be covering Dr. Shea's GMA forum that he will be having. We're just waiting for information from Dr. Shea on when that will happen. It'll be happening at his clinic, though. You know, we're supposed to be video recording the pink ball, which is happening this Friday, but I don't know about that because honestly, I really don't want to see Leon Guerrero administration people all dressed up to the ball. Honestly, like if I'm just being real here, I just don't want to see them. So I think we're gonna have to call our friend Leah Beth and cancel our charity work there. I don't want to go. But we do have a Sally Aquino has been coming in to work with our production crew on our new Filipino talk show, which launches this month, Saturdays with Sally Aquino. Now we ask that you turn your attention with us to 93.3 FM The Point, The Ray Gibson Show, for the best talk radio every single morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Don't forget Bob Klitsky's show, Tall Tales, this afternoon from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the most educational talk you'll get from Monday to Friday in the afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. 93.3 FM on the radio and The Point Guam on Facebook, and they're also on YouTube on The Ray Gibson Show. For Candid News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Danielle Baza.
Have a great morning.
Bottom line is we're going to make you a better person. You're going to be healthier and fitter than you were before.
The Jones Act is a 1920 law justified on national security grounds as a means to bolster the U.S. maritime industry. It restricts domestic shipping to vessels that are U.S. built, U.S. owned, U.S. flagged, and U.S. crewed. However, this law boosts cost by banning foreigners from competing and forcing Americans to purchase ships that are up to 8 times more expensive than those built in other countries. The result is higher transportation costs. Shipping oil from Texas to the Northeast, for example, costs 3 times more than importing oil from Africa. Ultimately, consumers foot the bill. In addition, higher shipping costs push freight from ships onto other sources of transportation, such as trucks, which means more traffic and pollution. Meanwhile, this blatant protectionism has failed to benefit builders of ships in the U.S., whose production is less than 1% of those in China and South Korea. Domestic builders have seen over 300 shipyards close since the early 1980s. Jones Act defenders claim the law ensures adequate U.S. ships during times of war, but during U.S. deployments during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, foreign flagged commercial ships carried twice as much equipment as their U.S. counterparts. In fact, the U.S. was so desperate for shipping that it twice requested the use of a cargo ship from Moscow. Both requests were denied. So the Jones Act has failed to achieve its shipbuilding and national security goals while driving up costs for consumers. It's time for this outdated, costly, and ineffective law to be repealed. It's time to end the Jones Act.